Welcome to Remnants of a Sound Blast. This is episode 16. And tonight, this is going to be my first official rant video. We're going to discuss Gene Simmons of Kiss, Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. I'm going to touch base on a new Metallica album briefly. And I'm going to speak a little bit more on the Motley Crue debacle. That's what I like to call it. First, we're going to go to Gene Simmons. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the latest news that Gene Simmons had to play sitting down because he was dehydrated. I don't know if they had to cancel the show or they just took a short intermission and he came back. But either way, this is a sign of an old age rocker on his way out. Kiss has been on a farewell tour since 2019. Somebody can correct me on that. I may be wrong. It could be earlier or it could be a little bit later, 2020, 2021, I'm not sure. But from what I've read, in 2019 is when they officially said that they were going on their farewell tour. And somehow they have managed to extend that farewell tour for 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been. It's absolutely laughable. If you're a Kiss fan, I'm sorry. I pretty much can't stand Kiss. I do have respect for them for the impact that they had on music, but as far as listening to them as a band, I just don't enjoy their music very much. They do have a handful of songs that I do think are good, but as far as like the status of being legends or being great for their musical ability, no way on this earth. Not as far as I'm concerned. The makeup is what made them, the merchandising. They were great businessmen. They're millionaires. But I don't think that they made that money just off of the music alone. It was all of the other stuff, all the antics, the showmanship, and everything else that went with it that made Kiss Kiss. I have absolute respect for Kiss for that reason alone. But again, musically, it's not happening with me. Sorry. Now, this farewell tour, like I said, has been going on for 5, 6 years or so now. So finally, you Kiss fans, finally now that you're seeing the cracks fall through with Gene Simmons or maybe some other band members that we don't know about yet. I mean, these guys are up in age. They're not young bucks anymore. They probably late 60s or mid to early 70s now. Hopefully you will finally get that farewell, we swear it this time, we really mean it farewell tour. Right? The farewell tour has been going on for how long? I think that is so funny. And you know who I blame? The same people that I blame for going to the Motley Crue shows and the David Lee Roths and the Bon Jovis and the Stephen Pierces and the Dawkins and whoever else is out there singing like crap, sounding like crap. There's my rant on Kiss. I think it's more humorous and entertaining to talk about it and read about it than it is to listen to their music. Much more exciting. Second thing is Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. Jethro who? Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull is a band, not a man. The lead singer of Jethro Tull is Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson still continues to do Jethro Tull. He's the only original member left. He's 75, 76 years old. He lost his voice in 1984 with the Under Wraps tour. He hasn't been the same since. You can imagine how bad he sounds now. And look, I love Jethro Tull. I was a fan of Jethro Tull kind of late in the game. I didn't really start listening to more of their material until recently. But I will say that classic era of Jethro Tull from 69 to maybe 79 or 80 is really hard to beat. I mean, in a very short period of time, Jethro Tull has become one of my top 10 bands, top 10 favorite bands. And that's saying a lot because I've been listening to a lot of different bands for 40-something years, 35 years or so. And Jethro Tull just came into the picture pretty heavy for me over the last year or two. So I consider myself a big fan. Not a long-time fan, but a fan nevertheless. And so I think I could speak for how I feel about them and say that Ian Anderson, they have a new Jethro Tull album, okay? This is the second new album that they put out in a while. Rock Flute, it's like German lettering, but it looks like rock flute. That's the new album that just came out, just dropped about a month ago. And about a year or two before, I think it might have been 21 or 2022, they had the Zealot Gene. Now, I've listened to the Zealot Gene a little bit, and I have to say that the music is nowhere near as good as the classic Tull lineup from the 70s, nor is his voice. And the same could be said for the few songs that I've heard from this new album. The poor fella is continuing to stretch out the legacy of a band when he's the only original member left and he's on his last leg, literally. He fell at a concert as well the other night. He fell backwards. He may have tripped on something. I'm not going to knock the guy for that. I mean, accidents happen. He threw something up that almost looked like a white flag, like a handkerchief. I did comment about it on a link on a certain site, and someone wrote me back and said that was actually the set list that he was throwing up. It could have been a white piece of paper. It very well could have been the set list. It looked like a towel or something that he was holding, but it was just comical, and it was perfect timing how he threw that up, like saying, I'm throwing in the towel kind of thing. You know, so I got more of a kick out of him doing that than him actually falling. So I'm not really making fun of Ian Anderson for falling, but I'm just pointing out the fact that these rock stars that we looked up to for so long are just human beings just like us. They're getting old, and unfortunately, I have to say within the next 5 years or so, or maybe a little bit longer, 5 to 10 years, all of these guys who we idolize, these rock stars from the 70s and the 60s, and some from the 80s, will no longer be with us because of just life happens. And that's sad. And you're seeing a lot of these guys on their last leg out there pretty much making fools of themselves. Not necessarily Ian Anderson, but some other guys, some singers that I mentioned in my last video, like the Vince Neil from Motley Crue and Don Dokken and David Lee Roth and all these other people who are out here trying to be like they're 25 years old and they're in their 60s or close to 70 now. And it's just sad to see that, because you have the musician, the performer, trying to be what they once were, and you have the audience participation. These are people who are aging as well. They're probably in their 50s or so by now, or late 40s, and they're trying to relive their past too. So I guess they really don't care how bad these people sound. They're just going just to say, I was at this show, I saw such and such. Well, for me, I'm sorry. It has to strike me a little bit deeper than that. I have to really enjoy what I'm listening to. I don't normally go to shows just to say I went to go see somebody. I don't care who it is. You know, I have to enjoy what I'm listening to. Otherwise, I could just stay home and listen to the records. That's just the way I am with it. I'm not going to give somebody my money if I know goddamn well before I go that they're going to sound horrible. And there's videos out there to prove it. So it's not like it should be a surprise to anybody when you go to these shows and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how bad this guy sounded. It's like, dude, you fucking idiot. You know this. You don't watch YouTube or Facebook or any other kind of social media site that clearly shows you how bad these people are. You're just going for nostalgia. And guess what? They're performing because they're greedy and they want your money and they don't care how they sound anymore. Their performance standards have dropped big time. It's all about the money now. It's not about being relevant or being good or even caring anymore. They're going through the motions. They phoning it in. They up there, they can barely move. They got the backing band behind them trying to make them sound as good as they can, and most of the time it doesn't even work. So that's my rant again on that. With Metallica, with the new Metallica album. Now, to be fair, I never listened to the whole entire album yet. I've only listened to maybe a handful of songs, 3 or 4 songs. One of them that I do remember very well is 72 Seasons, the song 72 Seasons, which I think is a really good song. All the way through, I really enjoy that one. There's 2 or 3 other songs that I've heard. They've been dropping songs like every day now. Or if you go on YouTube, I think they released the whole album that you can listen to. Like I say, I've only listened to 3 or 4 tracks. But of the 3 or 4 tracks that I've listened to, I'll say this. A lot of the material reminds me of Injustice for All and the Black Album. Now, I'm not real keen on Load and Reload and Death Magnetic and all that other stuff that came afterwards in the mid to late 90s or early 2000s. I couldn't even tell you probably 1 or 2 songs that they had on those albums, because after the Black Album, I pretty much stopped following Metallica until this new album. When I heard it, it reminded me of some old stuff. I gave it a chance, and I do like it. But my one gripe is this: Lars Ulrich. I'm talking about two things that I heard that really annoy me. Number one, the hi-hats, the frequency of the hi-hats on the recordings from every single song that I've heard so far. And like I say, this is 3 or 4 different songs. The hi-hat frequency is so harsh to my ears. It's like a real annoying mid-range sound. And it's just so annoying to listen to it. Second point is this: not only is the frequency bad, but Lars constantly plays these hi-hats even when there's a bit of silence that's supposed to happen. It's just maybe like a guitar riff playing by itself or something, or maybe it's opening up with just the guitar, or they might even go into like a middle section where there's just some guitar happening, and Lars is going the whole entire time that the guitar's playing. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, can't you give the music some space? Give the guitar some room to breathe. You just constantly hitting on that hi-hat, and it's just nothing but noise. It's like he's playing a repetitive 4/4 hi-hat beat on everything that I heard. That drives me fucking nuts. I mean, and I can only guess that it's this: a musician's personality comes out when they're playing. Now, everybody knows that Lars cannot shut up. He always has to be the spokesman for Metallica. You see him on this, that, and the other, talking about this one or that one, or talking about Metallica or whatever. He's just always been the face and the voice of Metallica, besides James Hetfield. But he is definitely the loudest and most outspoken member of Metallica. And I guess that personality must come through in his playing, because he just has to be heard. He just can't stop. He can't let off those hi-hats. Every song that I heard, he's just constantly playing those hi-hats, even when it deserves a moment of silence with just the guitar. I cannot believe, of all the people that they have surrounding Metallica, all the other musicians involved in this band, the advisors, the engineers, the producers, whoever's helping these guys write this music and record this music, you mean to tell me nobody said, Lars, you don't need to do the hi-hats right there, dude. It's pointless. It's not doing anything for that beat or for that part of the song. Just lay low, let the guitar riff play its thing. Then you could come in and make a bigger impact when you have a moment of silence. Then you come in heavy and the song sounds even heavier. I mean, I've been playing music a long time. I know these things. Lars should know these things. He's a professional musician in a band called Metallica. That aggravates the shit out of me. I will continue to listen to this Metallica album, and then I'll come back and do a fair and full-on review of it. But I just wanted to make a point about what I've heard so far. I do like the music. I do not like the frequency of the hi-hats or his continuous playing on the hi-hats. I'm sorry, it just bothers me so much. But I'm going to get through it. I'm going to try and get over that. But I'll say this: if every other song has that same stupid fucking hi-hat shit going on, it's going to be a one and done for me. Now, my last point is this on Motley Crue. I think it's totally ironic that Motley Crue is saying that they got rid of Mick Mars because he couldn't remember the songs. Yet, you have a singer who can't even remember the lyrics to the songs, and he sings in a language unknown to man when he's on stage. So how hypocritical is that? Now, a few years ago, they had a movie come out, a documentary about Motley Crue called The Dirt. Let me tell you how ironic this is. The dirt is what's happening right now, because Mick Mars is exposing that dirt. He's exposing the fact that they had backing tracks going back to 2015 with bass lines, vocals, and now most recently with the drums. I just find it so ironic, so hypocritical, and hilarious that these guys are getting rid of Mick Mars because he couldn't remember the songs. Yet they have a guy that's going out there night after night on stage trying to sing these songs that can't remember the lyrics, or he's blurting them out in a language unknown to mankind. Sounds like he's singing in Chinese or something. It's absolutely hilarious that they got rid of the guy for this reason, and you have a singer that's doing the same exact thing. So that's just my little rant for tonight. I'll be back with another video shortly. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been liking, subscribing, and commenting on these videos. Thumbs up to y'all. Hope you have a good evening, and I'll catch you next time. Until then, y'all keep rocking and stay safe.